Despite my relative youth, I find myself rather jaded by politics, especially at a national level. I've long considered it strange how many Americans get really interested in politics on a national level, where they'll directly be affected the least and where their vote is only one out of an entire state that will just round off all of its electoral votes into one oversimplified statewide suggestion to the Electoral College that will then cast the real votes. Meanwhile, most of them have as little interest as possible in following and participating in local politics, where a single citizen vote carries far more weight and affects change much more directly than it does on national elections. But regardless, I've gotten to the point that national politics are more of a passing interest to me. I'm almost at George Carlin's state where I just follow what's happening for the sake of entertainment rather than feeling it's worth it to invest myself meaningfully, because I've been so disenchanted by a lifetime of political misbehavior and citizen compliance. I saw Bill Clinton's peaceful and prosperous budget balancing 8 years get overshadowed by a scandal of oral infidelity. I saw my country elect a blathering, lying idiot into office who would have fit better as a cartoon cowboy on a children's show than as a leader of one of the most influential countries on the planet. And that's not even hyperbolic. For me, watching George Bush literally felt more like I was seeing a real-life cartoon character than a president. Then I watched my country elect him back into office for a second term, or let him steal an election, depending on who you ask. My naive faith in national U.S. politics may have been mostly broken by all the hope and change promised by Barack Obama, who received a vote from me right before he received not only the presidency, but the Nobel Peace Prize. Then went on to bomb Afghanistan, Iraq, Libya, Pakistan, Somalia, Syria, and Yemen. Yemen. A report by Human Rights Watch found that the 6 airstrikes there between 2009 and 2015, of those, 57 of the 82 people who were killed were civilians. For those of you keeping score at home, that's 70% civilian kill rate for the Nobel Peace Prize winning bastion of hope and change, for whom I voted. A little disappointed. Now, we stand at the dawn of a new election year, and the front-runner for the Republican nomination is a man who has genuinely ran on a platform of xenophobic pandering and insulting those who dare to take him seriously enough to offer counter-arguments and bragging about how much money he has. I'm, of course, referring to Donald Trump, who I'm still not convinced actually takes himself seriously as a candidate. His methods are so absurd that an optimistic part of me really wants to believe that sometime right before the election, in a big press conference, he's going to reveal that he was really just trolling the whole time and was just running on the points and in the way that he was to reveal the absurdity of his supporters. A presidential Poe, if you will. Though, as with most issues, if you're not quite sure if it's satire or if it's the real thing, then the thing to probably take away from that is an understanding of just how bad the real situation must be. And the Republican Party is so atrocious right now that not even the party itself knows if it can take its frontrunner seriously. But let's think about Trump's appeal for a moment. One partially admirable thing about Trump is that corporations are not in his pockets. He's the only GOP candidate who has not received campaign contributions from corporations or super PACs, which is sadly a mind-blowing fact. Campaign financing is a serious problem at this point, and in case you were unaware, corporations are people and money is free speech, so because people in this country have the right to free speech, corporations can spend all the millions of dollars they want to support any or all of the politicians that they want. And if you pay someone millions of dollars, you tend to expect something in return for your investment. But here we have a front-running candidate who hasn't accepted a dime in corporate donations, and even insisted that the 9 super PACs which formed in his name shut down and return all of the money back to their donors. Holy shit, it sounds like we finally have ourselves a candidate who can't be bought and paid for by the 1%. The problem remains, however, that Trump's campaign is still one of toxicity and stupidity, and that Trump himself is the 1%. Him not accepting corporate funding just cuts out the middleman. Instead of the corporate leaders using politicians to do what they want, we're just considering putting the corporate leaders with zero political experience directly at the head of the national government. Now, if only there were a presidential candidate with a political record of fighting for the lower and middle class with political experience, and who cares about the shrinking middle class and growing gap between wealthiest and most impoverished citizens, and who himself also refuses to be bought by super PACs. If only there were a candidate this year who makes the 1% on both party lines shiver because he can't be bought, and loudly boasts that he doesn't care about the billionaires who are going to be just fine no matter what happens, but who cares about fighting for the people who do the most of the real work for those wealthy corporate owners. Now that would be someone for whom even a man as politically cynical as I am would be willing to vote. And not just in the election, but in the primaries, to fight for him to even have a chance. Bernie Sanders is, of course, the candidate to whom I'm referring, and that's the main reason why, as of right now, he has my vote. Even if he's not likely to win even the Democratic nomination right now, I like the guy. I realize he is an old white man, and it would be really cool and symbolically meaningful for women everywhere if we could get a woman into the Oval Office. But it is my opinion that gender is one hell of a stupid primary reason for putting someone into any political office, let alone the highest political office. And if you think the opportunity to vote a woman into office is rare, I believe that especially in this time and moving forward, a qualified female presidential candidate is and will be nowhere near as rare as a candidate who's willing to fight for the worker bees and not just the queen bees, and whose hands are completely free of corporate honey. Feel free to tell me why I'm wrong or right in the comment section, though. I'm no political expert and never claimed to be, and I haven't cast my vote yet. Maybe you can teach me something before I do.